Welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. I have a casual ramble to share with you today, and I would love your input. So as we talk about this Hublot, and as I hit some rather contentious points or topics, let me know what you think. Please place it in the comment section, whether you agree with me or whether you vehemently disagree with me. I'll welcome all of that dialogue below. Now, in front of the camera, I have a Spirit of Big Bang Black Magic from Hublot, and I've got to be honest with you. This is a watch that I am biased towards. I think it is so dang cool. It's one of the coolest watches that I have had in for review in quite a while, and I know not everybody will see that. Not everybody will agree with me. In fact, I think that Hublot, in large measure, is an acquired taste type of brand. But once you acquire that taste and you see the nice things that they're doing, it becomes a very exciting brand. And I think that the brand doesn't get their due in today's watch collector circles. I know a lot of watch collectors, they kind of scoff at Hublot, and they call Hublot the Invicta of the luxury watch scene. And anytime I hear that parroted around, I kind of laugh. I can see some very basic base similarities, right? Invicta does have some large, eye-catching, complicated-looking watches. A lot of people like Invicta, and not necessarily a lot of watch collectors, just people that like watches, they like the brand. And you look at Hublot, and yeah, they have some big stuff that is eye-catching. And I think Hublot is more well-received amongst normal people and not crazy watch collectors that could tell you every reference, the history of every movement, and go all into detail and have, strap collections and whatnot, right? Hublot is more for the consumer of luxury goods and not necessarily a crazy watch collector, if that makes sense. Now, I'd like to use this Spirit of Big Bang Black Magic as an example to illustrate my point that Hublot is not getting the respect that I think that they deserve, and they are, in large measure, unfairly being compared to Invicta. But before I share my opinions here, I'd like to shout out Exquisite Timepieces. They're the sponsor of today's video. They lent this in for review. They've been lending in watches for years for review. They carry over 60 different brands. You can find anything from Seiko Sports on up to Parmigiani Fleurier at this family-owned brick-and-mortar authorized dealer located in Naples, Florida. So if you are shopping Hublot, if you're shopping any of the other 60 brands that they carry, definitely reach out. I'll leave a link below. Now let's take a closer look at this watch, and let's compare a couple general qualities of Invicta to this Spirit of Big Bang. Now, I'm going to offend some of you, either because you love Invicta, or you hate Hublot, or you love Hublot, or you just hate my hair, whatever the case may be. Invicta, in large part, I know once upon a time they were a great watch brand that was respected, but today they are seen amongst general watch collectors as kind of a joke, right? They only make two different types of products predominantly. One are homages or shameless homages, if you want to use that term. They're profiting over the image and likeness of more well-known luxury brands like Rolex. That's just the case with some of their watches. And then the other part of their watches, they are oversized, almost comically oversized, overpriced when you consider PVD coatings, cheap quartz movements, the quality of the components, and they're just out there in terms of style. Now, admittedly, I've had my own Invicta days, and some of you can make fun of me. That's totally fine. But when I was a young college student, I would wear 55 millimeter plus sized Invicta Russian divers and rose gold plated quartz chronographs. And I thought I had the coolest watches in the world. In fact, I'd go to class, I'd go to my job, I'd go all over the place, and I would think that I had the coolest watch or watches in the room, and I was very happy with my fashion Invicta watches. I look back at my dark days now and I laugh, right? But there is no denying that Invicta played a part in my own watch collecting journey, and I'm grateful for that experience. I did learn things and I did enjoy the brand. So I'm not trying to say that Invicta is unworthy and should not be in the market or something to that effect, because I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is Hublot is really not like Invicta in that sense. Now, I look at this the spirit of Big Bang Black Magic, and is this a shameless homage like some Invictas are? I think some of you may say, yeah, Bruce, this is a Richard Mille lookalike. It's a poor man's RM. And to you, I would say, well, I mean, they're both tonneau shaped. They're both a little industrial looking. They're both open work, depending on the reference. But I look at Hublot, and they're very different from RM. I've handled RM. I've worn RM, not around like on a daily basis, but I've had some experience with the brand, and they are much larger, much bolder, and brasher, and heavier, and far more expensive, like 20 times the price in some instances than a Hublot. And I would say there are some base similarities in architecture or layout, but that's the same with a lot of different brands, models, and styles. So I look at this spirit of Big Bang Black Magic, and I see Hublot design DNA. I'm not seeing a derivative of another design, a more well-known design from another brand. So in that respect, I would say this is not a shameless homage. It might have some similarities, but on the whole, it's its own thing. And is it oversized? Is it ridiculous like an Invicta can be in some occasions? I would say no. I put this thing on and my face lit up. This lightweight microblasted ceramic it's super comfortable. The back of the case curves, and it follows the natural curvature of your wrist. So it sits flat, it sits comfortably, it's lightweight. The rubber strap tapers very nicely. In fact, you can push a button on the case and unclick the rubber out, click in a different strap, easily change out the strap. It's a very comfortable, practical watch to wear. Is it the most legible with the open work layout? No, it's not. It doesn't have high contrast, but it's not illegible. So I would say from a practicality standpoint, in terms of size, in terms of legibility, in terms of comfort, I have no problems with this Hublot. In fact, it's just the right amount of loud, because with a design like this, part of the draw is having the eye appeal, having the eye drawn in to various aspects of the watch. It's supposed to be noticed. It's supposed to be a little bit different. It's not supposed to fly under the radar and be not noticeable. So that's that part of the question. Let's get to the more contentious part, and that is the price. Is Hublot overpriced? Is the spirit of Big Bang Black Magic ridiculously overpriced like a lot of Invicta watches seem to be? Is this bringing the value, or are you being raked over the coals? I think some of you watching, if you're still here, you're probably saying, yes, this is so overpriced. Anything over 40 millimeters and $500, you don't need. It's not necessary. It's a waste of money. And you know what? There is some validity to that. I know it is subjective, but I would say, considering the level of detail, the level of finish, the exotic materials, the modified high detail Primero caliber that's skeletonized, no, I don't think it's overpriced. Is it expensive? Definitely. $24,700 full retail is a significant amount of money. It's not anything to sneer at. It's worth more than a lot of our watch collections are worth. It's worth more than a lot of cars on the roadways are worth these days. So I'm not trying to say that it's not too expensive, because it is an expensive watch, but considering what you're getting, I think it's appropriate. I compare it to other watches, and this is where it gets a little bit difficult, because there are not a lot of ceramic cased chronographs on the market that have a ceramic case or a high beat skeletonized modified chronograph module within. It's pretty rare in the market. I look at another LVMH brand. I see Zenith. I see the Defy. I see a couple models in that line that come pretty close to this one. Obviously, There will be some differences. There will be some nuances, but those watches will retail usually 15,000 or more. So yes, less than a new blow, but not out of the same ballpark. There's still five-figure type of watches. I go to another brand like Omega, and they have the recent Apollo 8 Dark Side of the Moon update that I think is a phenomenal watch. And admittedly, I'm very tempted by that one. That is one of the coolest watches that I have seen in a while as well, with this Spirit of Big Bang Black Magic. That one is a black ceramic case with an integrated layered dial and movement that one could consider open work. I know it's not a high beat movement. It doesn't have some of the niceties that this Hublot does in that respect, but it still is a really nice watch, a Meta-certified Lemania-based movement that has its own draw. That retails for a little over $14,000. So again, quite a significant amount for one watch. I think of another brand that does ceramic cased chronographs, and that brand is Audemars Piguet with the Royal Oak Offshore. I look at some of their models. I know that they don't have high beat. They don't have an integrated type of open work dial and movement, but those watches will retail for a little over $60,000, quite a bit more than the Hublot, and arguably not as nice of a watch in some aspects. So are you paying more for name brand versus quality, materials, and technology? I think there's a balance for every one of these brands mentioned: Zenith, Hublot, Audemars Piguet, and Invicta, as well. And where you find the right blend, it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. So again, going back to the original question, I don't think that this watch is crazy overpriced in the same way that Invicta is. When I look at the market of similar type of watches from other brands, I think this is appropriate. Even though it is a rather expensive watch, it is a great piece. So let's wrap up this video by just taking a closer look at this specific model, and I'll tell you what I really enjoy about it. Now, talking about the movement, this is, like I mentioned earlier, a high beat El Primero movement that's modified. It has a column wheel. The beat frequency is 5 hertz or 36,000 beats every hour or 10 beats every second. There's a black indicator at the 430 that will highlight all of the skeletonized numbers for the date wheel. I think that is great attention to detail. It's not the first LVMH brand to do this, but it's a feature I really like about this caliber. Another thing that I like about this is the fact that it has a silicone hairspring, 50 hours of power reserve, and how it meshes very well with the dial, specifically these cantilevered applied markers, how they float out over the open work. I just think the industrial look of this bare bones watch, this high beat chronograph, it has a definite appeal and draw to it. So very well done in that respect. I like the large, oversized crown and function pushers. They are easy to engage with. The chronograph action is smooth and defined, certainly in line with what you would expect a chronograph to feel like when the retail price is over 5 figures. And then there are 2 other things that I really like. I like seeing the modified H screws found throughout the dial, the case, the movement. They're really found in multiple areas of this watch. And I love this cut and curved sapphire crystal, the distortions that they create with this open work dial. I find it very attractive. I like the fact that Hublot has supplied ample amounts of ARC, so you can see some of these lovely details to a good degree of clarity, even when there is a lot going on visually. So that being said, I look at this, I look at the materials, I look at the movement, I look at the details, I look at the dial, I look at the comfort on wrist, and I go, yes, this isn't necessarily a watch that I think is a good daily driver. The style is industrial. You don't wear this to the boardroom, right? It's not a watch you can wear in almost any situation, but that's not what it's trying to be. It's not trying to be nondescript and versatile and conservative. it's trying to be its own thing. And for what it is, it's a very fun watch that I highly enjoy and I would absolutely rock comfortably on a regular basis. So that being said, let me know what you think of Hublot. Do you find the sapphire cases, the tourbillons, the flybacks, and all of the cool in-house stuff that they do you find that appealing? Or is it strengthening the idea that this really is an Invicta-like brand, but just at the next level in terms of price? So please place that below, regardless of whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. I'd like to engage with you in the comment section. And then lastly, if you are shopping any Hublot, definitely check out my recommended authorized dealer, Exquisite Timepieces. I have my recommended salesman in the description of the video, so find all of the store contact information there. Thank you for watching this ramble today, this casual review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.